growth of empires during the time of 1450 to 1750, those maritime empires started to dominate. Let's talk about that. Who are they and how are they growing? First thing is trading post empires. You got to know what's going on with those. So throughout the coast of Africa, into the Indian Ocean, along the coasts of in India, these are trading posts that were set up mainly initially by the Portuguese. As you know, Portugal was one of the leading maritime empires and got started early. And of course, they forced their way in with gunpowder. Now, over time, the Dutch were able to kind of take over those trading posts and dominate trade later in the time period. But initially, that 1450 into the early 16th century, the Portuguese were really putting their mark there. Now, speaking of the Dutch, they also were looking to dominate the Indian Ocean trade. They have posts in Indonesia and actually were able to create a post in Japan eventually. But Japan is kind of an interesting scenario. Japan was going all isolation, me time, staying by themselves. And when they got influxed with the Portuguese initially, they saw that their culture was starting to change. And the Portuguese were trying to change people and convert them into Christians. So during the Takagawas, that was not going to work. Burning some of these folks at the stake to let people know we are not going to allow Christianity to come in and change our culture. That's hot. Now, the Spanish, we know that we're getting into the Americas. They had established colonies and their situation in the Americas, relying heavily on labor systems. That's the encomienda, the hacienda systems. Those you need to know. Now, late to the party were the British. They didn't get started in the Americas until, well, Roanoke, technically, late 1600s, but prove it. I'm just kidding. No, the idea that, starting with Jamestown and beginning with the Virginia colonies and then growing into the 13 colonies, they were late in that because that was starting in the 17th century. But because the French, the Dutch, the English, the Spanish, the Portuguese, they're all competing over the same type of areas. And so, in essence, there's a big time rivalry. Each is trying to outdo the other, outmaneuver the other to grow their empires. And those were mainly driven, all right, for gold, meaning the riches. Whether those riches came through trade, that's a different thing. Now, the Spanish were actually going literally for the minerals. Glory, how much land can they possess? Spain and Portugal were dominating in the Americas until England started to come in after the establishment of Jamestown and then eventually the 13 colonies and westward movement. And of course, the conversion of Christianity was always in the back pockets except for the Dutch, which is why the Dutch were able to dominate throughout the time period of 1450 to 1750 because they were not forcing conversion of Christianity on the people they were trading with. They just wanted the money, and they got a bunch of it. And that's how some of these guys in Europe got their empires started through maritime trade. And now you know your freaking history.